step.
Have you ever heard or read Mrs. Blavatsky? She's...
Helena Petrovna Blavatsky?
Right.
Yes, I have all of her works.
You have?
Yes.
Well, that's why... Yes.
I think her best work was Isis Unveiled, Part 2, which is theology.
Right. Science.
And that was an exceptional work. I think that Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, the Russian mystic, was a very wise and perceptive lady, and she had some very profound knowledge, obviously, and her academic achievements were extraordinary, and so I have a very high respect for the work of Helena Blavatsky.
For Jordan Maxwell admitted that Manly Palmer Hall, the 33rd degree Freemason, was a great friend of his.
Manly Palmer Hall, one of my very good friends, said in one of his lectures, Manly Palmer Hall, one of my very good friends.
Although Jordan Maxwell exposes a lot of truth with respect to apparent political corruption, this is a requirement for the esoteric disciple. He must gain your trust. That is why he appears to be anti-New World Order. However, he is doing the very thing that the New World Order wants him to do: externalize the mysteries, externalize the hierarchy, and induct people into the theosophical ideas. In the Zeitgeist 2009 orientation lecture for the Zeitgeist movement, Peter Joseph quotes directly from Helena Blavatsky's book, Key to Theosophy, in the introduction. Let's first look at what Blavatsky says. Inquirer: what are the objects of the Theosophical Society? Theosophist: to form the nucleus of a universal brotherhood of humanity without distinction of race, color, or creed. Inquirer: the Theosophical Society is not then a political organization? Theosophist: certainly not. It is international in the highest sense, in that its members comprise men and women of all races, creeds, and forms of thought, who work together for one object, the improvement of humanity. But as a society it takes absolutely no part in any national or party politics, unquote. Now here's what Peter Joseph just said in 2009.
The Zeitgeist movement is not a political movement. It does not recognize divisionary notions such as nations, governments, races, religions, creeds, or class. Rather, we see the world as one organism, with the human species as a singular family. The Zeitgeist movement is not a political movement. It does not recognize divisionary notions such as nations, governments, races, religions, creeds, or class. Rather, we see the world as one organism, with the human species as a singular family.
Peter Joseph and the Zeitgeist movement is nothing more than a New World Order Illuminati theosophic infiltration of the truth movement. In fact, Peter Joseph, in Zeitgeist Addendum, after persuading people that this New Age change is somehow good, he quotes Blavatsky again, this time using the same derogatory term that Blavatsky uses towards those who don't buy into the New Age agenda.
The emergent and symbiotic aspects of natural law. The emergent nature of reality is that all systems, whether it is knowledge, society, technology, philosophy, or any other creation, will, when uninhibited, undergo fluid, perpetual change. Likewise, the future will contain technologies, realizations, and social structures that we cannot even fathom in the present. And it is this awareness that aligns us and leads us on a continuous path to growth and progress. Static, empirical knowledge does not exist. Rather, it is the insight of the emergence of all systems we must recognize. This means we must be open to new information at all times, even if it threatens our current belief system and hence identities. The fact is, there is no such thing as a smart human being, for it is merely a matter of time before their ideas are updated, changed, or eradicated. And this tendency to blindly hold on to a belief system, sheltering it from new, possibly transforming information, is nothing less than a form of intellectual materialism. Intellectual materialism.
The phrase intellectual materialism is a theosophic phrase first invented and used by Blavatsky and her theosophists, namely in Lucifer magazine.
Peter, you were going to say something before the break. We were talking about spirituality, and I guess I would conclude that with basically the problem with the theistic concept is it gives this figure that isn't seen, that no one's seen, power, and the assumption is that that person intervenes in life and takes things and condones and advocates and has judgment. That's a very dangerous notion because it removes our personal power. The bottom line is the fact of the reality is that we are the power. We have to make change. No one else will. You and I are the ones that are going to stop the New World Order. We are the ones that are going to take down the guys that perpetrated 9/11. Not somebody else. No one's going to intervene. No one is up there to help us. And it's about time people realize that and get out of this convoluted paradigm. That's just the way it is. And that's what all the evidence throughout history, throughout time has proven. And the reason the masses are so controlled and we are so manipulated and feel so weak is because of this mass conditioning to think that we should give up our power to other people, whether it's the government or God.
Danny in Englewood, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're going to take this the wrong way, Peter J., director of Zeitgeist, but what you just said sounds exactly like Satanism. Not saying that you are satanic.
I don't believe in Satanism. If you want to use that word,
you know what Satanism
that's your own idea.
Satanism is? Atheists. People who do not believe in a God. People who believe that man is a God. That's what Satanism
correct.
is.
You are God. You are God.
He could simply say, I have action. A magician, the magic cults of the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th centuries in the Middle East were fascinating. The only modern work that has anything to do with them is trifle wild in spots, but it's fascinating work in itself, and that's work written by Aleister Crowley, the late Aleister Crowley, my very good friend. And he did himself a splendid piece of aesthetics built around those magic cults. It's a very interesting reading to get a hold of a copy of a book, quite rare, but it can be obtained, The Master Therion, Therion, The Master Therion by Aleister Crowley. He signs himself The Beast, the mark of the beast, 666. Very, very something or other.
Proving those allegations.
Why did you leave the church? Because of these allegations, these things that you...
No, well, I left the church for a whole wide variety of reasons. It isn't a very simple answer. I left because my wife wanted me to, and also because I wasn't making any money, because all the money flows, of course, to my father always has. I was also tired of the fraud and the deception, plus his deep involvement in personal use of drugs on himself and others, black magic.
When you say black magic, what are you talking about? I mean, some of the things that I read in the stack of material, it sounds just absolutely unbelievable. What are you talking about when you say this?
Well, the funny thing is that the actual truth is about as far out as Scientology itself. Really, the basis of Scientology, which is rather hidden and covered over, is the occult, the deep involvement with satanic powers. That he felt that he was deeply involved with a British black magician called Aleister Crowley, and through putting himself in deep hypnotic trances and the use of drugs on himself, he wanted to become the most powerful being in the world.
Did you consider all of this a religion? Do
No.
you now?
No.
Why not?
Because it's a business.